Kick and chase by Mullins. Kick and chase again by Mullins. It'll be a miracle. Oh, it is a miracle. Fafita tries to crash his way over. He does. Fafita got the ball over the line.
Hunter's kick is over the sideline for a 40-20.
Yeah, g'day champions and welcome to 40-20 Sports. We are at the juicy end of it all now. Round 2 trials are over. The boys have warmed up. They're ready to go for the season launch next week over in Vegas. Our teams are starting to come together. We're getting a bit more of an idea of who's getting what position, who's getting what minutes, who's looking good, who's looking shithouse. I'm going to do a bit of a reveal on our round 1 team. I'm pretty much locked in on what I've got. I'm super happy with it. But before I get into that, we are doing a league code. So for those who haven't seen it or haven't joined yet, the league code is 726638. That's for 40-20 Sports. We're going to be doing a bit of a merch giveaway for the person who wins that. Shirts, stickers, hats, stubby coolers, all coming in there for the winner of that. Righto, we won't fuck around. We'll get into it. Our starting hookers. Well, our starting hooker is going to be Api Coruscant at 572k. I am massive on him now that he's got the kicking duties. The round 1 bye is a bit of a bastard there, but I think I'm just going to take the hit because I can't really see anyone that is worth that sort of money that has an uptick in value. I'm just going to go with Api purely because of the kicking duties. Last year he had 6 games where he had the kicking duties. He averaged an extra 10 points a game. So we put that onto his average. He's looking at a 67 to 68 sort of average hooker, which I'm massive on. In those 6 games, he did average 72 points. I'm not expecting him to get that much, but if he can, like I said, knock that down to about 68 point average, I'm loving him for 572k. I think he's every bit worth that money. 80-minute hooker, I'm massive on him. My backup hooker will be Joey Lussick at 313k. He looks to have that hooker role there at the Parramatta Eels locked up. Brad Arthur's come out and said that he wants an 80-minute hooker. So if that all rings true, Joey Lussick gets the nod there. He's 313k. I'm massive on it. In the games that he did play 80 minutes at hooker last year, there were only the 3, but his games were limited due to him coming over from Super League. He's still got a 47-point average. He got very limited attacking stats. He only had 1 attacking stat in those averaged 47-point games, which was a try contribution. So I'm expecting attacking stats to come. A hooker working with that sort of forward pack they've got there should have attacking stats incoming. So I think his price will only increase. My front rowers, I'm starting off with my gun front rower is going to be Reuben Cotter. I was keen on Payne Haas, but I sort of figured out if I pulled back a little bit, got a guy with a bit of value, I could improve my team in other places, and my team's a bit more well-rounded for that. So Reuben Cotter at 542k, he's dual front rower, 2RF. The exciting thing about him now is that he looks like he's going to play lock. I was a little bit and ahhing about that sort of situation if you got the front row. But at lock, we should see him penciled in for 60 to 65 minutes. He doesn't have a massive upside in his game, but he does have an incredible work ethic. His points per minute last year were 1, the year before were 1.1. So if he does get 60 to 65 minutes, you'll be looking at those sort of points, 60 to 65 point average, and you should get them reasonably consistent. He doesn't tend to have a bad game in him because he has that much work ethic on him. He's a bit of a discounted price if that's the case, and due to that, I'm a big fan of his, and I'll jump on him. The next one there is a bit of a gamble for us. We are going to run with Sean Keppie. I had Keenan Palacia in there, but after his trial today, I've ruled him out of my side. And I think Sean Keppie, I've jumped up just a tiny bit in price, is probably a better option. He is still front row forward, 2RF dual like Palacia. But Demetrio has come out and gave him massive raps after the Charity Shield. Charity Shield, he was huge. I think he scored just shy of 50 points in about 40 minutes or a little bit under. Looks like they've entrusted him with the starting front rower position. So that's awesome news for Sean Keppie. I was keen on Tyler because I didn't think he had a lot of front row forwards to work around with him. But it looks as though Sean Keppie, if he can get some decent minutes into his legs, he's going to be every bit a superstar. Well, not a superstar, but he's going to increase on his value of 385k if he is pulling out them sort of numbers. For my bench there, for my front row forward, I've got Xavier Willison, 265k. Ola Kawadu vibes all over them. He probably won't feature in my 17 very often, if at all. But I don't think he needs many minutes to score a lot of points. He'll basically just be a cash cow there. Hopefully he goes on a bit of a run where he's scoring tries, breaking tackles, line breaks, that sort of stuff. Comes on as a bit of an impact. I'm excited to watch him week in, week out come on. He'll be a guy from the Broncos. I'll be waiting for him to come on at the 30-minute mark, 25-minute mark, whenever it may be he comes on. But yeah, I'm huge on him. I'm hoping he turns into a really good cash cow. 265k, I'm all about him. Sam Hughes is the other one from the Dogs there, 238k. Probably not going to get a starting spot there. He's come off the bench in both of the trials for the Doggies, although I'm not really worried about that at all. Looks as though he's got a massive motor. In that first trial against the Storm, he ran for 160 metres, made a heap of tackles, heap of runs. Was a bee's dick off scoring a try. I think there was an infringement rule and he may have bobbled the ball as well, but good to see that he does have that ability to break the line and potential upside in scoring ability with a few tries and a few line breaks, hopefully close to the line. 238k, bottom dollar. I would advise against having him as one of your special front rowers, one of the first or two pick there. I don't think that's probably a good option just because we need to see what happens with his minutes. He only got 17 minutes in the second trial. I don't think that's anything to be concerned about. I think maybe they were just putting him in a bit of cotton wool, but one to play out at 238k. I think he's a good bet. He'll be one of the cheapies of the year as far as I'm concerned. We'll move on to my second row forwards. I'm trying to start with a bloke that has a lot of cash or up there and abouts with the cash money for every position that I've got. So that if something does happen, I've got a bloke that I can sell, go down to a mid-ranger, and I've tried to keep that over my entire squad so that throughout the year, I've got someone who is of high value that I can potentially sell if they're not doing their job and move them down to blokes that are doing their job, that are cheaper, mid-rangers, cheapies, that sort of stuff. So that's always a good little tactic to have. Every position there, I feel as though I've got a guy over 500k minimum. I'm not running with all mid-rangers. I've seen a lot of teams where they're running with all mid-range second row forwards. If a couple of them fail, you're up shit creek and you don't have that guy to come down to them. So with that, I'm going Cam Murray. 639k. I was umming and ahhing with him a little bit, but there's some huge news coming out of the Rabbitohs that looks though Peter Mamazelis is going to get the 14 jumper there for the Rabbits. Now, what that means is they're going to be a little bit light on with forwards on their bench. I'm guessing their bench is going to look a little bit like Burgess, and Davey Mawali is going to be coming on with the front row forward rotation. And Tallis Duncan will round out the four there with Peter Mamazelis in the 14 jumper. Now, what that means is that hopefully Jai Arrow is going to the edge spot. We saw that in the Charity Shield. He looks like he's got the edge spot. If Tallis Duncan relieves him of a bit of minutes into giving Cam Murray a bit of a breather, it could be a bit of an uptick for Cam Murray for minutes. Now, we know he averages about 65 to 70 minutes a game. If he can get that to 70 to 75 minutes, he's going to be world class. He finished the year really well last year, had a good average on him coming into the back end of the season. I think for 639k, slam dunk for Cam Murray, if that is going to be the bench and he can improve on his minutes. My next one there is going to be Helam Lukey at 471k. Has a huge average when playing minutes. He's got an 85-point average in 60-minute games and over. Not expecting it to be anywhere near that. But if he can get a point a minute or better, 60 to 65-point average, I'm all in on him. He's got a massive ceiling. He's got those 120 games in him in 60 minutes, 70 minutes. So looks as though he's on the left-hand edge there where Leilua was, running off Dearden. That is probably the edge I prefer him on. In the trial against the Canberra Raiders, he had 18 runs, 4 tackle busts, 17 tackles, no missed tackles. I was a little bit hesitant about picking Lukey because of his base stats. I thought maybe he'd be a lot reliant on those attacking stats. But that's ripping base, 18 runs, 17 tackles. If he can keep that up, he could be an absolute buy of the year. I think if he plays 60 to 70 minutes, which he probably will, I probably don't see him as an 80-minute back rower. They'll try and keep him fresh so he has that impact there that he's got. But if he gets 60 to 70 minutes, I think he can get a point per minute average and average around 60 to 70 points throughout the year. Bo Firma will be my next one. He is 467k. He missed all of last year with an injury. But the year before that, he had an average of 65 points. He looks like he's on that left-hand edge after today's trial. I think that's only going to last because Fafita is not playing for the first 4 to 5 games. With his injury still coming back, he'll be out. They're going to be crucial for Fermor. He's going to be outside Kieran Foran, which is only going to be beneficial for him. He's going to get some good quality ball. Will have some attacking stats in that, and we all know he's got a massive base, so I like the look of him. Morgan Smithies is my next one at 345k. Looks to be a tackling and running machine. He tackled his pecker off in the first 25 minutes of the trial he had against the Cowboys. 20 tackles, 5 runs in under 25 minutes, so I'm all about that from the big man there. The word out of Canberra is that he is an absolute freak. He is training the house down. I know we hear that from everyone, but there is a lot of strong words coming out about him that he is an absolute masher. In the Super League Grand Final last year, he made 55 tackles, 19 runs in about 65 minutes. So if he gets those sort of minutes playing lock, which I expect him to play, hopefully he does play there and they don't put Tarpanay there, he could be one of the buys of the season there for our cheapie ranks. On the back of that, I am also going Samuel Fainu. Bit of a roughie there, but at 263k, I had a good look at him in the trials. He looks super aggressive with the ball. Good hole running. His thing that impressed me the most was when he was having a bit of a run around with Manly last year, he sort of was just keen to take the runs, but he didn't get too involved with the tackling. First trial hit out, he had 27 tackles in very limited minutes. He did get sin binned in that game, but I'm pretty sure without the sin binning, he got just shy of 50 points in about 30 minutes. So huge upside to him. I believe the last game against the Dragons, that was a bit of a romp, but still had 9 runs for 20 tackles in, again, limited minutes. So I like the look of him. Round 1 bye there, but I'm pretty confident he gets a bench role. Bateman will be coming back into that team though, so probably one to watch. If there is news that he is going to miss out, I'll have to look elsewhere, but I'm pretty confident he gets a start on the bench. My last one there is Viliami Fafita. He is dual front row forward 2RF. He's been flirting with a first grade debut now for a couple of years over there at Manly. He's been coming off the bench in trials, been looking really good. He's been going down that right-hand edge. Benny Hunt was hitting him quite a bit in the Charity Shield. There is a bit of a worry now. Raymond Fatala Mariners there. Leigh Lewis seems to be coming to the club, although there is a drink driving thing going on with him, so I'm not sure what that sort of punishment's going to play out. But due to his duels, my front row forwards are set up with my 2 guys there in Cotter and Kepi. They have got duels, so I'm looking at Viliami Fafita regardless if he does get that spot, because I do like him having the front row forward 2RF duels as well. I can always trade him out, put him in my front row, bring Kepi and Cotter down and fluctuate a few players like that, which is always super handy, especially in the bye periods. If you've got those guys in, they're super worth it. After my halfbacks, I'm not going to stuff around with guessing who's going to be the up-and-comer or what mid-rangers are going to excel. There are a couple of guys there with Sean Johnson and Moses that I think are good value, but I'm not playing around with it. I'm just going to go Nicho Hynes and Nathan Cleary. Nicho Hynes, 970k. Highest scorer in SUPERCOACH last year. Top 3 the year before. He's an out-and-out gun. You probably can't go wrong with him. His point-scoring ability on any day, 180 for his first game back last year, absolutely butchered some people. There is a bit of concern over him with top 8 teams. There is a bit of a concern with the Sharks in general over top 8 teams. Top 8 teams last year, he had a 64-point average. Do not let that deter you from picking Nicho Hynes. All that means is that you probably don't captain him against those harder oppositions, I'm still all about him. This year, he's got 9 times he plays the top 8 teams out of 24 games, and 2 of those teams in that top 8 little formula there are the Canberra Raiders. So you can say what you want there. I don't think the Raiders are going to make the top 8, so he should get good game time and good in game time. Should get good points against them. Nothing but an uptick for Nicho Hynes. He's still the number 1 ball player there. There is a bit of word about Trindle maybe taking some points off him, but in that All-Stars game, it barely looked like he scratched the surface of what he can do, and I think he scored about a 77. So I'd be terrified watching him, not owning him, and just watching him do like what doesn't look like anything special, but still just consistently scoring those points. Nathan Cleary, again, 912k. He's nearly the exact opposite of Hynes with our tough oppositions. He's got an 89-point average on last year. Against the top 8 teams of last year, he had a 97-point average. So he goes better against the top 8 sides than he does against the bottom. He's been a top 5 player for average points per game in the last 4 years. So he's fixture proof. He's game management proof. It doesn't matter who he's playing. He's going to score you big points. There is a bit of talk about him starting slow, but I think if you have a bit of a dive into it, the numbers sort of say differently. From his 3rd game to his 6th game last year, he made us 200k for those playing. I think he scored 153 in his 3rd game, where everyone was saying, I told you, Nathan, start slow. And then he just went ballistic, went up near $1 million. So don't buy into that. In the last 4 years, he's got at least 2 100-plus games in the first 5 games he's played. So the starting slow thing may work for a game or 2, but after that, he fucking brains it. So save yourself the hassle. Save yourself the dramas. He's going to be in everyone's side at some stage. You can save yourself some trades by just going these 2 guys and then working around trading in some other players. So you can save yourself some massive headaches and massive hassles around that halfback position. 5'8", got some controversial ones coming up here. I've got the mayor of Brookvale, by the looks of it, Luke Brooks, 560k. Bring on the headaches. Bring on the little experiment that we're going to run with here. Surely he gets a few added points by having Turbo out the back of him. He's got a good left edge by the looks of it. Worked well with Burbo in the trials. I hope that sort of sticks. Schuster's a little bit more erratic, but still he's very points prone in that second row forward spot. You saw that he does a lot better there, Shuey, in second row as opposed to 5'8". But Luke Brooks looked really good in the trials. I actually had a bit of a look throughout the last couple of years, and over the last 3 years, he has not averaged under 50. So he's pretty solid. I think going into a new camp, going into Manly, he looks really refreshed. I think working with DCE is only going to be beneficial for him. Having Turbo at the back is, again, beneficial for him. I think he's a solid option. In the last games last year, only 2 games he had a shocker. He had 2 games of 26, and then everything above that was 40 points. He doesn't seem to have that massive skyrocketing game, although he did have a 100 in there. But I'm just hoping for the first couple of rounds he can average around 50 to 55 points. If he does that for me, and I can make a bit of cash elsewhere, turn him into a Dill Brown or a Cam Munster, hopefully, if he loses a bit of money going through that tough run the Storm are going through. Hopefully I can switch him around there. My other one there, my backup one, is Kyle Flanagan. Now, a lot of people are going KO Weeks. KO Weeks is probably going to get the starting 5'8" spot due to Ethan Strange getting a suspension, I think. He had a lifting tackle in today's trial against Thomas McKaylee. So I think KO Weeks is going to get the 5'8" spot there at the Raiders, but his job security, I think, is poor. So I'm going Flano at 310k based on his job security. Also, he seems to have quite a good base starting the year. I don't know if his dad's got in his head and just said, mate, just get through your runs and tackles, the rest will come. His job security is awesome. Like I said, he looks like the only real option that they've got there at 5'8" for the year. Probably not going to play him in my side, but I'm hoping that he can get those games of the good base in there, last year, 80-minute games that he played, he averaged 44 points. So if he can bust that out, if he can get 44 points for me, gain 130k cash, I'm all about it. His base stats during the trials, in the Charity Shield, he had 14 runs for 17 tackles in the first game. Second trial, there against the Tigers at Mudgee, he had 9 runs for 19 tackles. He also had a try assist, line break assist, offload and a tackle bust there. So I had him around the 50-point Supercoach point margin. I don't know if Weeks has got that in him. I don't know if Weeks has got the base in him. Little bit iffy on him defensively. I saw him up against Jeremiah Nanai today, and Jeremiah Nanai, although he didn't miss a lot of tackles, he sort of got to palm him off and bumped him off a fair bit. So that's one to watch. I like Flano. I think I'm never going to play him in my 17 as bad as it gets. I will hopefully move Luke Brooks on before there is a buy there for them. But again, I think he's our safest option with job security, and he should generate us at least 100k cash, if not, hopefully 150. My CTWs, wasn't even thinking about this guy until I saw the trials. I'm going to go with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at 539k. Hugely impressive. It looks like he hasn't even been out of rugby league, let alone you would never guess that he'd never played centre in his life in an NRL game apart from these trials. Had 17 runs for nearly 200 metres in the trial against the Dolphins there. He looks absolutely awesome. His defence looks spot on. He's not shirking abilities coming out of his own half. He wants to take the tough carries. Like I said, 17 runs, so he's super involved. I had him at 77 Supercoach points today against the Dolphins. Didn't score a try. I'm on board. I'm going to ride the wave. Hopefully, he can continue that good form that he's got in the trials there into the games there. His round 1 matchup is over there in New Zealand, so hopefully goes into that. He's going to jag tries every now and again. His tackle busting abilities, I think he had 8 tackle busts in that game against the Dolphins as well. So his base is going to be massive, and I'm there for the ride. Taylor May is my next one at 458k. He's a massive discount rate. Obviously, having the year off with an ACL, he looked superb in the World Club Challenge today, or this morning that I watched. He had 14 runs, 11 tackles. His base looks to set me there. I think he's going to have a bit of an uptick in his base because of the defensive work he's going to have to do in centre. He still looks like he's keen as to take the hard runs out of his own half, so I don't think his base will slow down there. Can only be an uptick for him with his defensive efforts. Look, like I said, Club Challenge looked awesome. I think he got around 50 points Supercoach-wise if we're doing that. And yeah, base is still going to be awesome. 458k, he's a no-brainer. He's not going to get any worse than that. He's not going to lose you any money. I've locked him in. Next one is Bronson Xerri at 345k. There is a bit of concern that Carraz hasn't trialled. He looks to be coming back from a bit of a back injury there at the Dogs, but yeah, I don't see a world. I don't see how they could go without Xerri. He's been out of the games for 4 years, and it looks like he is pushing for an origin spot. 21 runs in the round 2 trial. He had 17 runs, I think, in the first round trial. Scored a try, set up another. His workload coming out of trouble is immense. He wants to take the hard carries. It's super impressive to see after 4-year layoff. I'm all about him. The only drama, like I said, will be Carraz coming back. If they do opt to go Carraz in a centre spot and move Wilson out of the squad, if they go with Wilson on the wing, they will probably push Bronson Xerri out and Carraz in. So one to watch, but of the potential that we've seen there for Bronson, I'm pretty sure he will get a spot round 1. Another guy that came out of nowhere is Jamin Salmon, 317k. He's a dual CTW second row forward, which is huge for us. He's come out of the blue, like I said. His base stats have been awesome. His work rate and defence has been awesome. I'm getting massive Isaiah Yeo vibes off him. Maybe Cameron Ciraldo is trying to mould. They've both been at that Penrith system. They're trying to mould him into an Isaiah Yeo clone. When they're getting to attacking ball in their 40 sort of metre to the try line sort of area, he seems to be doing that first receiver role and getting the ball out to Drew Hutchison and Burton. So exciting to see. There should be some attacking stats coming out of that if that's the case. even without the attacking stats in the first trial, I wasn't really looking at him, but I went back and had a look at him. He had 11 runs for 27 tackles. In the second trial, 11 runs for 32 tackles in 50 minutes. That's immense work rate in that time. I probably don't think he gets much more than 50 to 55 minutes, but if he can keep that up, he should have about a 50-point average, and that in CTW, when there could be guys that you're going for that are cash grabs around 317k that are going to potentially give you games of those 15s and 17s, I'll take the consistent 50 every time. Benta Bojovic is our next one there at 2RF CTW, another guy there. He's 277k. Looks to have that starting left edge with Schuster out with that calf strain. The big one will be how long Schuster's out for. I still think he'll put a bit of pressure on Turbo, or Benta Bojovic there. Even if he does come back though, you would think that with a calf complaint, he's had this injury before, they'll sort of nurse him into it. So hopefully Benta Bojovic can get a good 4 to 6 weeks starting in the second row out of it, albeit if he doesn't play 80 minutes. I'm not entirely convinced on him as playing him in my 17, but I'm more than happy for him to sit on my bench and deliver me a bit of cash. Hopefully we can get a cash rise out of him before Schuster comes back. If Schuster even comes back, I'm happy to run with him. I'm happy to take the gamble with him. So yeah, he's there for me. The next one is James Schiller at 238k. I did have Ethan Strange there, but it looks like he is going to spend a bit of time on the sidelines for that, getting McKaylee in that dangerous position there in the trial. So fuck knows where he slots into that side, if he slots into that side at all when he comes back. So I've gone James Schiller. A little bit hesitant, a little bit less keen on his trial today against the Cowboys, but he looked really, really good against the Eels. I think Ricky trusts him. We saw that up against Newcastle there. In Newcastle, he had him there for the trial. He also trusted him when there was injuries. He trusted Schiller to come in on the wing as opposed to an Xavier Savage who could have possibly run in that position. So I'm not confident in Schiller. If another cheapie comes up that is around the same price, that is out of the blue smoky, there's a couple of guys there from the Warriors that could be potential there. But at 238k, I'm happy to just have a risk there with him. Last one there for my CTWs is Kane Bradley at 238k. He started at left second row forward for both of the trials now. Looked impressive. He's a big rangy fella. I think he's 6'6", so he's a big damaging second rower by the looks of it. His Queensland Cup stats are sort of all that he's got to go off, but they're beautiful. The stats there, he's ran over 100 metres in his last 10 games. I think he averaged about 150 plus metres in those games. He had games there where he was getting 220 metres. Good base stats. He's in some of the games there, he's getting 30 tackles, late 20s tackles sort of thing. There is just a bit of a problem with the sample size we have on him. There's a massive jump up from Queensland Cup to NRL, as we all know. There is Sean Blaw there where people were keen on, but it looks as though Kane Bradley may have the jump on him. If he does get that starting second row spot, I'll pick him. No worries. Melbourne Storm, left edge. Bellamy picks these blokes for a reason. He doesn't really like chopping and changing them. Trent Liero looks to be the number 13 for the year, although there is some issues there with Nelson coming back. He hasn't played a trial yet, so again, one to watch. My fullbacks will be Caitlin Ponga, 892k. Was the hottest property going into the back end of the season last year. When he was playing fullback and kicking goals, he was averaging over 100 points, which is fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that this guy's nearly 900k and he's going to be undervalued. So he will give you nightmares if you do not have him and you see an opposition that you're playing against come up against him, especially if he's captaining him, like I plan to do in round 1 against the Raiders. Looks as fit as ever. There's all this stuff going around that he's swallowed a turtle. His six-pack is bumping. If he can produce 80% of what he did last year, I doubt he will go to the lengths that he did last year. But if he gets 80% of that, he still should be one of the elite fullbacks and elite Supercoach guns. Just keeping healthy will be the tricky thing for him. Yeah, we all know about his history of head knocks. He's sort of a bit of a lighter body and he does get thrown around a bit. But if he can produce anything like he did last year, I'm all about him. I think he's undervalued, surprisingly, for 892k. So I think most people will jump on him, and I think you'd be mad to not get on him as well. Last there, our backup one is Tom Trbojevic, 833k. I understand everyone's concerns about his injury history, but at the moment he is fit and firing. The positive thing about his pectoral injury from last year is that it wasn't a lower body injury. It wasn't a knee, wasn't a hamstring that he's had dramas with. So he's had another year basically to get those things right, which I think he will. He and Ponga, why I've gone them, there is Drinky, who I love Drinky, but he's just a little bit out of my price range for this. They're probably the only two fullbacks that you watch every game and you shit yourself. Drinky's a bit under the radar, but I think he's every bit of chance to be the number one spot at fullback this year. Drinky, he was phenomenal in the trial against the Raiders. But any given day, Turbo can go 150 plus, and he can do it with relative ease. If he stays fit, everything comes off him in the back line of that Sea Eagles team, especially when he shifts out to the left. He's got an 81 average from last year, and he was playing with a busted leg. Like, he was just phenomenal. He would get into the clear and start jogging, hoping that someone would catch up in support. If he strides out, it's game over. I think everyone will jump on him. Another interesting part of how you can sort of play this fullback scenario, he's 833k. If he starts the year and he looks a little ginger and he's not producing the goods and his average is a bit down, his involvement's a bit down because he is injured, he is 833k, which means we can downgrade to either a Pappenhausen, Latrell, Teddy if he starts killing it, any one of those guys that are performing really well, that are at a bit of a discounted rate. That is also something you've got to sort of take into consideration, like I said before. But yeah, as long as Tommy Turbo is fit, firing, I am all about him. I will not go another way other than Ponga Turbo combination. I think it is dangerous as they come. And that's what I'm going for. So yeah, there's my team as of now. Could very well change going into Team List Tuesday, although we are only going to get those Vegas games coming out of there. So the guys that are there for the Vegas teams, I'm pretty confident that they'll still be there. So it'll be the next week that we'll see a bit more changes possibly from teams. But yeah, I'm super happy with how that's looking. Again, our code 726638. Please jump on. Please come along for the ride with us. We're in this for the long haul. We've already got the shirts made up, the stickers made up. We're looking for other people, designers, to make hats and stuff. So yeah, if you can jump on that, that'd be awesome. I love the comments I'm getting. I'm getting some messages on Instagram, helping with people with teams, all this information. I just love talking about SUPERCOACH. That's why I'm doing this stuff. So yeah, jump on. Hit the like and subscribe button. If you could do that for us, that'd also be awesome. But yeah, thanks heaps for watching, legends. Take care.